Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Forward Miami show. If you don't know, my name is Damian Pardo. I'm the host for this show. And Forward Miami is a local nonprofit that specializes on diversity and inclusion. I'm thrilled today because I have as my guest Grecia Ordoñez. And Grecia and I met each other in a very interesting way. She's a Cuban activist. And Grecia, you're in New York, right?
I'm in Rhode Island.
You're in Rhode Island. Wow.
Yes.
Okay, you're in Rhode Island. And I ran across her on Instagram, and I'm going to introduce you to the Grecia I met on Instagram.
Little black girls that look like me don't make it in my country. You know what's our end goal in my country being? What we call jineteras. You know what's a jinetera? A prostitute. Sexual tourism. That's what we're good for. Because the Europeans, the Americans, and the Canadians love going to Cuba and paying $50 to have a young girl with a big booty that look like me, giving them some company. I'm going to tell you the truth because I live the truth. Because I was one of those jineteras in Cuba. I had to sell my ass to feed my family. Okay? Let's say it how it is. I had to sell my ass to feed my family. You know how old I was? 16, 17. We want to talk? Let's talk. That is pedophilia. So yes, I put myself and my body in the hands of pedophiles. You know why? Because I had to feed my family. Because we get paid $18, $18 a month. And in one night with a tourist, I made 30, 45 to 50. If it was generous, I would get $60, $70. So I would make more than working. You want to talk? Let's talk. Black girl like me. And now I feel betrayed by the Black Lives Matter movement because you feel it's okay to defend the people that push me to do what I had to do. You want to hashtag Fidel Castro. Hashtag Viva la Revolución. Fuck the revolución. Patria y vida, cambio y libertad. That's what we need. We are not yelling. The Cubans in the streets are not yelling we want food. We are not yelling we want medications. We are not yelling we want vaccines. You know what we're yelling? Libertad. Freedom. That's what we're yelling. Ven acá, chicos. So what's the difference? What makes us different? Just because we're Cuban? We're still black. Like I say, if I walk into a room and I shut with my mouth closed, you don't know what the fuck I am. So right now I feel misrepresented by their own people that were supposed to represent people like me with my color. Now there is several men, boys, as young as 13 years old that look just like me. Deep brown, melanated skinned men being shot and kidnapped in the streets of my country. And you're not saying anything. When it was time for me to yell Black Lives Matter, I did so. Hashtag Viva la Revolución. Fuck the revolución. Patria y vida, cambio y libertad. That's what we need.
Yep.
Grecia,
Yes.
wow. When I saw that, it blew me away on so many levels. You have absolutely no idea. First of all, it was a boatload of truth that's never heard. It is never heard. And just to think, that you lived it and you were there and you're black and you're American and you're Cuban, such an important voice because people don't know the truth. People don't know reality. So I kind of wanted to open up with you talking a little bit about your reality in Cuba and here.
Okay, so reality in Cuba is, I think it's kind of like, it's the same for everybody, but for some reason, when it comes to Black Cubans, we always, in the bottom of the bucket. That's what I call it. With the crabs in the bottom of the bucket. Everybody's in the crab bucket, but we're the ones in the bottom. It's tough. Cuba is a tough country. You need tough skin to make it there. It's a lot of scarcity. Everything scarce there. So you live in total and complete survival mode, and that makes you sometimes desensitize you from certain things because you are trying to figure out how to survive. you know. So when I did what I had to do, my mother had been diagnosed with fibromyalgia, but
Wow.
fibromyalgia had the nerves were attacking her. Her own nerves, her own body turned against her. So my mom, half of her body, she was paralyzed, half of her body and stuff like that. So I had to grow up before time. I had to take the responsibility of feeding my mother, because I'm like, we are not starving. I am not going to starve, and I'm not gonna let you starve. So that's one of the reasons why I did what I did. And to be honest, I couldn't tell her what I was doing, so I
Wow.
had to play them. It was a whole lot of hiding. No, her, no, my dad couldn't know either, but we had to eat. And then I didn't want my dad to feel. My dad and my mom were not together. They are not together, but I didn't want my dad to feel like less of a man. So I was trying to babysit and safeguard my dad's ego, because how dare you have your daughter in the streets selling her body, when you can provide as a man. But that's the reality of a lot of Cuban men. They cannot provide for their families, you know. So I was trying to play, I don't know, parents to the parents. So I had to do what I had to do, because I had a job. A lot of people ask me, oh, but I had a job. I was working. But what I was making in my job was not enough. That is, that's the closest thing that I can do to endanger labor pay. What we make in Cuba with a regular job is literally indentured labor.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And can
yeah,
you,
and then my reality here. You said my
Grecia?
reality in Cuba, my reality here.
Yeah, Grecia. One of the things I wanted you to talk a little bit about was life in Cuba, but from kind of like the myth here in America, like about the healthcare system and education and what it was like hearing the kind of American spin or the American view versus the realities that you experienced firsthand.
I heard that it's very it's amazing that you bring this up like that, because I heard a lot of American trying to tell me how I should feel. You should be grateful to the revolution. You guys have free healthcare. You guys have free education. First of all, the level of education in Cuba is very low. I was talking to somebody, and that person was sharing with me that she came here when she was in 12th grade, and she had to go back. 12th grade in Cuba, she had to go back to like 9th grade here, because she was behind compared to, that was not my experience, because I didn't have to go to school here. I did all my schooling in Cuba. But there is also free education here. It's called public school, so people don't see that part. What the government of Cuba is doing is nothing. It's nothing special. It is what every government is obligated to do. They have to educate you until grade at least 9 or 12. Every government does that. There is also free education here, public school. If you want better quality education, you pay for it. And to be honest with you, I would have rather paid for better quality education, because education in Cuba was like, literally, yes, you get free healthcare and free education, but it's like I'm selling my soul. Literally, I'm selling my soul to that system. My whole life, they're gonna bring that up, and I have to be in debt with them for my whole life. And then people need to also understand the tourists, when they go to Cuba to get medical assistance and surgeries and stuff like that, they do not get access to the stuff that we as Cuban citizens get access to. They have different hospitals, they have different clinics, they have different care. They do not have to deal with what we have to deal as Cuban citizens.
Can you explain the difference in that care? Because I don't think people know any of that.
They have the military hospital is one hospital that, because the military, they get different treatment as well. So they will not find the scarcity that you will get in regular hospitals where we go to. Um, to be honest with you, I remember going to the doctor in Cuba, even what we call médico de familia, el médico de la familia, and it is more like a holistic practitioner here, because a lot of the remedies they will give you is natural remedies.
So like herbs and things like that?
You know, take these two herbs. You know, the doctor is giving you herbal remedies for, you know, your ailment. So to me, it's more like a holistic practitioner, what we call a holistic practitioner here, which is not a bad thing. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but you know, you have the thing of the scarcity of doctors, the scarcity of, you know, just medical, simple medical material like swabs and syringes, and everything scarce. When I tell everything scarce, is you know, even I remember the little thing that they put here to be able to draw blood. I remember one time going to the lab in Cuba, they didn't have.
We lost her. Maybe she should notice, right? On her. Okay. We got you. We got you back.
Yes, I'm back.
We got you back. Sorry about
And
that.
I'm right to the Wi-Fi. No, my apologies. My apologies. So, you know, it's everything scarce. And then I just find it so hypocritical how a lot of the doctors are being sent overseas. But then there is no doctors in Cuba.
And why is there scarcity of things like syringes and swabs? Why is there that kind of? I mean, isn't there humanitarian aid getting to Cuba? That sounds like stuff that countries send over there.
So that's the same thing that's the same thing we as a Cuban people are asking ourselves. That's the same thing ourselves. How do we have medical equipment, but the army has brand new boots and weaponry?
Yeah.
So how does the army has weaponry, brand new boots, but there is why that money was not taken to buy the medical equipment that we need? What are the donations that we're supposed to be getting from people from Russia?
Grecia, my producer's asking if you can pick your phone up.
That's the same question. I would love to get an answer for that too.
Grecia, my producer's asking if you can pick your phone up to see if the link gets better.
Pardon me?
If you can pick your phone up, are you on phone or on a standalone?
On phone, yes.
If you can pick your phone up, because the signal will be better.
Okay, can you hear me better now?
Yeah, I can hear you a little bit better. Listen, one of the things that I really wanted to touch with you is the issue of freedom, right? I think the way Cubans live in Cuba and the concept of freedom in their mind and what they go through is very different than when they come here to the US. And I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about that.
Yes, absolutely. This is crazy because I just had this conversation with somebody, one of my good friends. Because I was posting in my Yahoo, in my Facebook Messenger, in my Facebook story, I was, the protest here, and I was posting about everything that's going on here because I want to know and see, that they are not alone and what is really going on. Mm-hmm. And my friend, it kind of hurt me because my friend said, what are you fighting for? So I had to navigate that thin line between, let me tell you about yourself, but let me also hold space for you and show some compassion. So one thing I said to him was, to a cage bird flying looks like a disease. They don't understand. They don't really know. They don't know what real freedom is. They don't know what being able to speak and say whatever you want feels like. Like anybody in this country can say anything about Biden, for example, and
she dropped out. Where is she? I guess the connection is just bad on the line. Where is she? Rhode Island.
What's up with you? You staying out of trouble?
Let's try and see if we can.
Sorry about that.
No, that's okay. They're just checking on the line. We're still on phone, right?
Yes, and I have it up. I picked it up.
Okay, perfect. So listen, you were just saying about the concept of freedom and what it was like there, in Cuba versus here. And I want you to kind of maybe repeat that because we were crackling out.
Yeah. So I was sharing the story of the conversation I had with my friend. My friend was asking me, what are you fighting for? And I said, I had to, because it's like, you are in Cuba, I'm fighting for you. I am fighting for you. I'm like, I live well. And I had to break it down in a very compassionate way, but I had to let it be known. I'm like, I don't have no needs to do what I'm doing. I have a good life. I own 2 businesses. I travel everywhere I want, whenever I want to. And I can speak whatever I want, whenever I want to. I can navigate internet freely. I can do whatever I want, as long as I'm not hurting somebody else. If I'm doing something illegal, of course, there is consequences for that, right? But I'm like, you guys are not doing anything illegal, and you still cannot express yourself. You cannot say what you really feel. You cannot travel. You cannot eat wherever, whenever you want to, So I'm like, I understand that to a caged bird, flying looks like a disease. But what I'm doing for you. Wow. And one thing I want people to understand, especially Americans, is like, because what I'm doing, I'm risking the privilege of seeing my mother again, because my mother's still in Cuba. People don't understand that. You guys can say whatever you want and then go overseas and come back to this country, and you don't have no problem. You can say anything about the president. You can say anything about Biden, and nobody's going to do nothing to you. In the case of Cuban activists, we had to give up the privilege of going back to our own land just for defending the freedom of our people and for, putting ourselves on the line, because going there is like putting ourselves in their hands. They can do anything to us.
I had a friend say something that was really shocking to me. She said, I am never going back to not being able to say what's in my head. And it dawned on me that she lived her time in Cuba in her head.
Yes. That's how a lot of Cubans live. That's how my grandfather died. My grandfather passed without being able to express himself, without being able to say what he felt when he felt it. So the only ways, or the only times you will hear something coming out of him was when he would be in a party and have, a couple drinks, So something will come out, but then he will kind of like, back to the little shell. There was a lot that was in his mind, and he was not able to say it. So why would I put myself back to that? No, I am breaking those what I call generational curses. I will say what I have to say, how I have to say it, and I am not going to apologize for it.
Yeah.
Because we
You
live
know,
our life apologizing in Cuba. You apologize
yeah,
for everything, and you have to be grateful for the bare minimum. For the bare minimum. Oh, I'm so grateful to the revolution. I'm so grateful to, oh my God, yes, for the bare minimum. You know, it's not even, yes, it's not even a luxurious life we live in, but we're supposed to be so grateful.
there was something else obviously in your spot that really hit home for me, and that was
Hmm.
the sexual tourism.
Hmm.
Because a lot of people don't acknowledge that Cuba makes a lot of money, and a lot of money comes into the government, to the regime, from sexual tourism.
Absolutely.
And you brought that out. Lots and lots of Americans have absolutely no idea that that's what happens. I know as a gay man, because a lot of gay people, gay men from all over the world, go to Cuba for the same
Absolutely.
reason, because they get whatever sex they may want for nothing, and it feels good for them because everybody in Cuba makes you think you're special. So
Oh yeah,
so they
we,
come.
we, we mastered the art of
They are exactly
the art of seduction.
the artists, absolutely. Excellent job, because whenever anybody comes back to the States, they're like, oh, I had no idea Americans were so popular. And inevitably I end up saying, listen, you're not popular, they're hungry.
No, you just look like
you
a
know
visa.
right,
That's the
right.
reality. You look like a visa, so yes.
You look like a visa. Great line. That's a great line, but it's so true. And for me, as a Cuban American, knowing that people have no choice whatsoever other than to sell themselves sexually, is
Yeah.
not dignity. That's not
No,
dignity. Nobody,
no,
no population should have to be forced to live that way. And that's
no,
what was
and
so
that
powerful.
it's the thing is getting younger and younger, and it's scary. Younger and younger boys and girls are taking that route of setting their body, and it's scary. And one of the reasons some Europeans, especially I see a lot of Italian communists coming up lately, one of the reasons why they want the system to stay in place is because they cannot get away with that now nowhere else in the world.
Yeah.
They cannot get away with it. They cannot get away with it in Italy. They will go to jail.
Yeah.
They cannot get away with that in Canada. They will go to jail. So they need a safe haven, quote unquote, like Cuba, to go do what they cannot do in their countries. Listen, I've seen it all. I've seen married men, complete married with families and everything, just go to Cuba, you know, and be gay, with a gay partner in Cuba, having a whole family back in back home,
Yeah.
you know, things like that. And it's like you say, it's no dignity in that. No, it's not. There is not.
And also, I mean, I would think that the Black experience in Cuba is very different than the one in the US. I know in the US, the African American community has often felt that Cuba was some kind of good role model for them, that there was no racism in Cuba, or that, Fidel was really good friends with Mandela. And, you know, it's very difficult, I think, for Black Americans to reconcile what they see now happening with Black people in the streets of Havana and Cuba to the US notion of what Fidel Castro, Cuba, and communism is. I thought you
Yes.
could comment a little bit on that.
Yes, that's been my battle lately for the past couple weeks on my social media, because I get a lot of Black Americans trying to tell me how I should feel about the situation in
Wow.
Cuba, and giving me all that theoric. Oh, it's all theory. It sounds great in paper. It sounds amazing in paper. And like I say, it's very easy to be a communist live in a capitalist system, but it's very hard to be free in a communist system. And I live there, so I don't feel that it's right. They are not coming with receptive ears. They are coming giving me and telling me what to do and how to feel instead of listening to somebody that lived it, right?
Right.
The whole idea of Fidel being their second Jesus Christ, right, their savior and the savior of the Black community in this country, came because of the link with, Malcolm X and the Black Panthers, and then the Black Panthers getting political asylum in Cuba and stuff like that. But the reality of the matter is, the first thing that the Black community needs to understand in this country is that one of the first things that the Black Panthers was the most proud of was the first thing that they stripped them of the minute they touched Cuba, and that was their afro. They made them cut their afros, right? And they need to understand the reality. Yes, because that was too proud and too loud. And we don't do this here. We do communism. That's our religion. Especially in the beginning of the revolution, nobody was free to practice religion because it was all, we are communists. It's a communist system, no religion is practiced, and no expression of cultural and heritage pride, like an afro. So they had to cut their afros, right?
I wanted to mention this. I think that Castro was brilliant on many levels, but one of them was in the 60s, he used the issue of race as a way of separating Cuba from the US. So internationally, he was able to say, look at the US, look at all of their problems, look at us in Cuba. We're more progressive, we're more inclusive, we're not racist the way they are in the US. I feel like he did the exact same thing with LGBTQ now in the last decade. Where they're reaching out to the world saying, look how progressive we are, look how wonderful we are with LGBTQ, when they had concentration camps for gay men, when they had sanatoriums.
Exactly. They had this place that we call Los Cocos. We used to call Los Cocos. Okay? And in Los Cocos, they literally, and what people don't understand, cuando pasó en el 80, in the 80s, con los Marielitos, every gay person was literally kicked out of Cuba. There was no choice, and a lot of them had to leave without saying goodbyes to their families. Wow. And they had to do the walk of shame when there was people in both sides, and they had to walk in the middle with people like just screaming at them, slanders, shame. So there is no progression in communism, not for Blacks and not for gays. And let's be honest with that. Because if we're going to talk about Blacks and murder of Blacks, there is nobody with more Black blood in their hands than the regime of Fidel Castro. If not, look at Angola. Look at Angola. True. Who had their hands in now the Angolan government is apologizing to the Angolan people for the same war where Fidel had number one dip and hands. People don't see that part because he didn't do it in Cuba. He went all the way to Africa to do it. It's still Black people.
Well, listen, we're already getting toward the end, but we're gonna have to do more of these over time, because honestly, the stuff that you and I are talking about is literally just not known at all in our country. And I think it is our responsibility to help say truth and speak truth and help the people on the island who can't do that.
Absolutely.
So I just want to take a quick minute and thank you so much for being as brave as you are, for being so outspoken, for saying your truth, which really takes guts to do, especially knowing that your mom is back in Cuba and that you may not ever be able to go back, because of your.
I mean, I believe I am going because the system is going to fall and we're going to go celebrate there.
Oh, that's great. I'll join you. Thank you very much, Grecia. Thank you. And I look forward to having you back.
Thank you. The pleasure is all mine.
And to all of you out there, sorry we had a few little technical difficulties, but it's a great show. And please join us again next week for another topic, and join us again when we can have Grecia Ordoñez here with us. Thank you. Have a great week.